as comfortable. So
Yeah,
wherever
ma'am.
I can do little bit Hindi English, I'll keep switching just to
Sure, ma'am.
explain simple concepts.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, what happened? People are a bit slow in English sometimes.
So
That
I'll also go slow, don't worry.
please, ma'am, please. That's our request.
Sir, you can start your live now.
Yeah. Hello, friends. Hope you all are well with your family members. And of course, the situations right now, the pandemic, COVID-19, the pre-COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 situation in the field is altogether different. And for that, what we understood was let's have some brief round of introduction with the leading psychologist of the India. I think we have given you a teaser. Our topic is managing self during these difficulties of this COVID-19. So of course, we might have carried a lot of negative perception in our mind that what happens post COVID-19, how we'll work in the field, and what might be the consequences when we'll meet to our customers. So to managing ourselves and to managing the self during these difficulties, we have with us Dr. Varka Chulani. She'll help you. She'll help you all, we all, to understand the current situations and how to manage yourself and your emotions and stress of yours and your customers during these difficult times. So we have with us Dr. Varka Chulani. I will briefly introduce her. Dr. Varka Chulani is a clinical psychologist and psychotherapist. She's a consultant, Lilavati Hospital, Mumbai, and doing the private practice as well since last 20-25 years plus. Of course, ma'am is associated with Intas since long. She was a part of our Genesis program. We have conducted 5 to 6 IVF counselors training program as well in this division. She is one of the leading speaker in our global ART forum as well. Of course, she needs no introduction as well as she is associate fellow and supervisor at Albert Ellis Institute, New York City, USA. And she has been associated with the various publications. She is co-author and author in various publications like 7 Mantras for Teenage Success, for Thinking Woman, Conquering Laziness, and many, ma'am. So, ma'am, over to you, ma'am. Our topic already has been circulated in the field. I have sent you teaser as well, ma'am. So it's over to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just take a minute. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh,
I
good
think-
morning, Mrs. Satpathy. Good morning.
The purpose of doing this meeting is I had a lot of discussion with Dr. Varka, and we kept on changing the topics. I'll just give you a prelude to, if you look at the people who are attending this webinar are sales guys, and making a sales guy stuck in home for almost 40 days now is, it's worse than a prison. In a normal life, when we used to go to a hotel where we normally stay, the chef would used to come and say, ask, what is your favorite dish and what would you like to take tonight? And when we come back home, our wife used to ask us, do you have any laundry? So that's what our life is like. We were living more in outside than hotels and than in home. But yes, this 40 days has given us a lot of time to understand our family. But it's a psychological toll when you are not allowed to move around, you are not allowed to meet your customers, and you, at the back of the mind, you think of achieving your numbers, but still you feel helpless. So, as a psychologist, and you understand us very well because you have been associated with us for a long time, I would request you to address these issues. And I think once the session is over, the team should be charged and should feel happy.
Sure. No, I understand. Life has changed for everyone. So, can I start now, sir?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes. So, thank you, Mr. Solanki. Thank you, Mr. Satpathy, and thank you, Intas, for having me back on what is my second webinar with you all. And of course, as Mr. Solanki said, I have been with Intas for many years, right from Genesis, and we've been doing a lot of programs together. So as Mr. Satpathy said, life has changed forever. हमारा जीना बदल गया है. जैसे Mr. Solanki ने कहा, before COVID and after COVID, now there are going to be two different phases as we will remember as human beings. हम पहले क्या करते थे? We used to roam around freely. We used to not care what we used to touch. We used to not be suspicious of the objects that we would handle. We would handshake with everyone. We would have no fear. और अब क्या हुआ है कि हम इतने सस्पिशियस बन गए हैं. We have become unfortunately so paranoid कि हम सोचते हैं हर टाइम कि हम हैंडशेक करें, हैंडशेक भूल जाओ. हमें लिफ्ट का दरवाजा नहीं खोलना है, हमें पैकेजेस नहीं लेना है. We don't want to read the newspaper. We do not want to touch doorknobs. The whole mindset has become one of fear and anxiety. So every object जो भी हम देखते हैं ना, हमारे मन में ये घुस गया है कि उनके ऊपर वायरस होगा. हमारा सोच इतना बदल गया है, हमारा जीना इतना बदल गया है कि हम सिर्फ हर 24 घंटे ये सोच रहे हैं कि where is the virus and is it going to attack me? So the new normal is that life has changed, and unfortunately life is becoming complicated because of emotions of constant fear, constant anxiety, and now some of us are even, as Mr. Sarpati said, because of this 45 extended day period of lockdown or 40-day extended period of lockdown, we have also started to become, maybe some of us, depressed. And in today's session, I want to replace anxiety with courage. I want to make all of us, me also, take this new phase of life with a lot of confidence and courage. And remember, two emotions cannot exist simultaneously. So I cannot be fearful and confident. I cannot be anxious and courageous. All our anxiety with confidence and with courage to be able to take on the challenges that lie ahead of us. As I said, life has changed and life has changed forever. जमाना बदल गया, पर ये पूरा दिन घबराना, सोचना, being paranoid, being depressed, being constantly worried, हमारे सेहत के लिए और हमारे ऑप्टिमाइजेशन के लिए, हमारे इफेक्टिव वर्क लाइफ के लिए, it will be very, very difficult for us to work like this. So I am going to tell you all a story of a medical representative whose job also was something similar to yours. He was a sales representative in a big pharma company where he would go from hospital to hospital, nursing home, clinic to clinic, meeting doctors. His job was to introduce the doctors to the new medications that had been developed by his pharma company. His basic salary was given by the pharma company, and then over and above that, whatever sales he made, he would get bonuses and he would get commissions. One day, unfortunately, when he was on his rounds, he met with a very bad accident. And his legs, both of them, unfortunately, got damaged so severely that he had to take complete bed rest for at least 3 to 6 months. He was devastated. वो एकदम हैरान हो गया कि मेरा जो लाइफ है सेल्स फोर्स का, to go out, meet doctors, and here because of this accident now, I'm completely laid up in bed. मैं क्या करूँगा? How will I meet? What will I do? And for 5 days, he just cried and cried and cried. One day, while he was lying in bed, wondering what to do with his life, because for the next 3 to 6 months, the doctors had advised complete bed rest for his legs to recover and to heal, he was reading a newspaper. And there he read a very simple article by a very famous medical doctor or a scientist actually called Helen Keller. You may have heard of Helen Keller. Anyway, as he read her article, there was a line that stuck with him. What was that line? The line was, I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. I repeat, he was reading an article by very famous scientists. And there was one line in that newspaper article that jumped out. What was that line? I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. He closed the newspaper and he thought, ये लाइन का मीनिंग क्या है कि मैं रो रहा हूं क्योंकि मुझे पास जूते नहीं है, बट मैं रो रहा था until I saw a man who had no feet. And he said, my God, this applies to me. I'm crying because I'm laid up in bed, but I have feet. Yes, right now my feet are damaged. They are not working, but I am under medical care. I have been asked to rest and to recover. And here I'm crying because I've been asked to rest and recover. It is not that I don't have feet. It is not that my legs are amputated. It is not that I have lost and will never be able to recover. It is right now only a period of rehabilitation, rest and recovery, which the doctors have asked me to take for 3 to 6 months, and then I will be back on my feet to go back into the sales force. So he thought about the sentence. I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. And he thought that day, मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? Why am I so depressed? Why am I so upset? I am not dead. It is not that I don't have feet. All at this moment has happened is that my life has changed. But if I continue to cry and feel miserable and feel constantly self-pitying, I will not be able to recover from this situation, and I will not be able to make anything of my life. Today, the virus is like that. It has not killed us, thankfully, yet. At least not all of us who are on the webinar, and all of us who are able to hear, speak, listen, attend the webinar. That means all of us are alive. हम सब जिंदा हैं. हमें अभी तक वायरस नहीं हुआ है. वायरस ने हमें मार नहीं दिया है. We can think, we can speak, we can read, we can hear, we can listen, we can participate, we can engage. So if you need to get over these very challenging pandemic COVID-19 times, please put on your wall this sentence. I cried because I had no shoes until I saw and met a man who had no feet. And remind yourselves, you have feet, you are alive, you have an ability to hear, to listen, to talk, to see, to engage, to participate, to think. You and me, we are not dead yet. We are fit, we are able to do things. And if you are able to get out of the trap, and I call it a trap, if you are able to get out of the trap of self-pity, you will be able to do what the medical representative did. So what did he do? So he knew that he was in the bistra on bed for 3 to 6 months. But that sentence inspired him so much that he decided that he would innovate and create. So always remember one thing. Human beings, once they stop pitying themselves and stop feeling depressed, can use their intelligence. And we are, because we have been working for so many years, have some intelligence. I'm not saying we are Einstein, but we have some intelligence. We also have experience of how to do things, how to make sales calls, how to meet doctors, how to engage with patients, how to be able to, organize our potentialities and abilities. But what happens, emotions block us. And self-pity is the worst emotion to have because it blocks your intelligence, it blocks your experience, and it does not allow us to think creatively. So this man on bed, after he put down that newspaper, that thought that I'm alive, I have ability, I can think. Let me think now. Since I am laid up in bed, what do I need to do? So he picked up the phone and he called his manager. And he said, Manager Saab, I know I am in bed, but I can still continue to work, continue to give me my basic salary. And I will innovate, create a new method of working with my doctors, with the people who I engage with in the hospital and clinics, so that I can continue to do my sales from my bed. The manager was shocked because he expected that this man, before 1 or 2 months, would be laid off and would be asked to leave the job. But he was very surprised. So he said, "आपका क्या इरादा है?" He said, "मैं सोचता हूँ, but मुझे ये बात promise कीजिए कि you will support me in whatever methods or ways I want to try and do this." So always remember that we can make good things happen out of very bad things. So let me show you one slide which I think will help all of us. Can you see this? आप सब ये देख सकते हैं. Once your mindset changes, everything on the outside will change along with it. I repeat, once our mindset, not only yours, mine also, once our mindset changes, everything on the outside will change along with it. So ये जो आदमी था, the sales representative who had met with an accident, उनका mindset बदल गया. किस लाइन से? That I was crying because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. जब उसने ये सेंटेंस पढ़ा, जब उसने ये सेंटेंस के बारे में सोचा, when he thought about it, he asked himself, what is the worst? I'm not dead, I'm alive. I can think, I can hear, I can speak, I can talk. I now have to change my mindset from self-pity and take this as a challenge. All of us today, in this time of virus, have to take this new normal as a challenge. A challenge for what? A challenge to use our mind, a challenge to become more innovative, a challenge to become more creative, a challenge to think out of the box, a challenge to now bring our intelligence and experience to use other methods of doing what we know best. So you sales stars out there who go on the fields, etc., have to think out of the box. So you will have to accept that life has changed. You will have to prepare yourself that when you make your sales calls, things will be different. You will have to adapt and adjust to the difference. But people who constantly whine, moan, cry, and self-pity themselves will not be able to make the adaptation. All successful people are adapters. They are able to adapt and adjust to life's challenges. And today, I have never in these 50 years of life faced this kind of life ever. I've had a very comfortable life. This is a discomfort for all of us. We are all in this together. Yes, I know some are little more privileged because they have savings, they have a little extra money, while some of us who are, depending on our salaries, etc., are little more stressed. But if you go into self-pity, you will not be able to take this challenge and rise above it. So when this sales representative realized that he had to be in bed for 3 to 6 months and he stopped pitying himself, he began to create new ideas. He said, I am going to talk to every doctor on email. I am going to create beautiful emailers with lovely design and first talk about what happened to me. When I talk about what happened to me, I will then be able to, because I have already built a relationship with them. They already know me. I already know them. They trust me. I trust them. I will then be able to start making calls to them and talking to them about my new products either through a video call like how you and I are doing today, or through a regular normal call, I will then reach out to my pharma company and I will ask them that I have made the calls, they have placed the orders. Can you give me one delivery boy who will be able to now execute the order? So he became innovative and creative, where he started reaching out to the doctors through email, through calls, through different ways of interpersonal communication without going to the doctor's office. He began to do what every one of us ought to start doing, which is making good things happen out of very bad things. So he called his wife and said, give me my laptop. And he sat down with the laptop and he started writing. He created posters, he created pictures. Of course, he got some help. He got some help from some people who knew how to use PPT. He got some help from the office who was able to give logos, etc. But he just disrupted the entire way he had done business until now. He had done sales until now. So you and I have to learn point one for today's session. We can make good things happen out of very bad things. That, as I repeat, will depend on our mindset. So I go back. Once your mindset changes, everything on the outside also will change with it. So point one for today's session is, let us seize this opportunity. It's an opportunity to create, to innovate, to think out of the box. But opportunity can only come to those who are able to think, because they are not in self-pitying mode. They are not depressed. They are not anxious. They are not upset. So point one is, we can make good things happen out of very bad things. As you saw, this sales representative whose whole life was on selling by actually going visiting, created a new way, a new strategy, a new methodology to be able to now create posters, create emailers, create conference calls, create Zoom calls with the doctors and the people that he would otherwise meet. Once he was able to do that, he reached out to his company to give him support of delivery, that once the order was placed, he was not necessarily going to need to go and execute the order themselves. They sent delivery boys, like today how we have delivery of food. They had delivery boys who went out and started delivering the orders or the supplies of the medicines that were asked. Now coming to point two. As he kept thinking, he realized point number two. Every cloud has a silver lining. मतलब क्या? कि every time there is a cloud, a dark cloud hanging over us, there is a silver lining to it. मतलब कुछ अच्छा हो सकता है, even though there are dark clouds hanging over us. Again, what do I mean? वो सोचता था कि whenever I used to go to the doctor's office, how much time I used to waste. I used to be waiting. Doctors used to be not there. Doctors used to sometimes come late. Patients used to be waiting and waiting. Everything was unoptimal. There was so much wasted of human resource of time. There was waste of human resource of travel. It used to take sometimes 2 hours to reach doctors' offices. But this time, there was a silver lining. Because of him being unable to move, suddenly, he had become very efficient. He realized that not only had he become efficient, because he would send the mail and he would wait to see whenever the person would respond to the mail. Of course, they would not respond immediately. Some people would take their time, maybe few hours, maybe a few days. But in that time, extra time, while he was waiting, he read up more on what his pharma company was producing. He educated himself more as to the composition of the drugs. He began to use that time wisely. The silver lining today for us when we are with the virus is we have so much time. Today, doctors are themselves afraid of just spending time unnecessary outside their house. They are beginning to understand the value of keeping appointments. So now you will see, as we are going back into the green zones, which are allowing us to go back to work, you will see that by and large, many doctors are beginning to understand the value of time. When they call patients, they are expecting to see patients at a particular time. They don't call 10 people together. Now, because of physical isolation and physical distancing, people are being given blocks of when to come. That means there is a schedule, there is a structure, there is a method that these doctors are beginning to use to be able to interact with their patients. Otherwise, agar aap pehle dekhte the, there will be 100 people sitting in the clinic, in the nursing home, waiting outside the doctor's office. Now, because of the fear of the virus, there is a silver lining that today appointments are being met. The doctor is becoming more structured. He's giving more, timed out appointments, and he is taking his patients on time. Forget that. Patients are becoming more disciplined. You are seeing that patient, if they are called at 10 o'clock, are coming at 10 o'clock because उनको भी पता है आज कि social distancing, physical isolation, physical distancing की वजह से अगर I do not reach on time, the doctor will not see me because at 10:30 somebody else will be there to see. Yeah, 10:15. Every aspect has a silver lining because now suddenly जो हम haphazardly कहाँ भी कुछ भी करते थे, now we are becoming disciplined. आपने देखा होगा कल या परसों जब liquor shops opened, at least in Maharashtra and other places. I know Gujarat is a dry state, but in other areas, you saw people standing in queue. आपके जो टाइम अभी अवेलेबल होगा आपके पास, वो होगा क्योंकि जो डिसिप्लिन अभी आने वाला है लाइफ में, बहुत एडवांटेजेस होगा. हम वो एक्स्ट्रा टाइम से कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. I can sleep, I can read, I can study, I can talk to my family, I can play games, I can build up my skill, I can do many things because travel time is saved. Many of us are still working from home. Many of us are still conducting webinars. Many of us are still engaging with our teams, with our groups, online, on call, rather than in person. So travel time is saved. People are becoming more finicky about starting and ending on time. Doctors are becoming much more careful about how many people they want in their clinic and how many people they want together. Patients are becoming more disciplined. So जब आप 2-2, 3-3, 4-4 घंटा डॉक्टर्स के ऑफिस के बाहर बैठ के टाइम वेस्ट करते थे, अभी जो डॉक्टर्स आपको बुलाएंगे ना, वो आपको टाइम पे ही देखेंगे, और जो आपका एक्स्ट्रा टाइम वो बचेगा, will you be able to make a silver lining out of this very dark cloud? And the sales representative thought, अरे मैं यहाँ morning I used to leave home and come back at night. I used to never see my family. I used to never see my children. I used to never see my wife. I used to never be healthy enough to even talk to them because I used to be so tired. Abhi kya ho raha hai? I have so much time because I'm working from the bed. I can actually optimize my day by engaging with my wife, talking to her, playing with my children, some board games. Life has changed for him and for us. And therefore, point number 2, let me show you another slide. Point number 2 is if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I repeat, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. What did that sales representative who unfortunately had an accident do? He changed the way he began to look at life. Today, you and me can be far more efficient. हम और भी effective हो सकते हैं, efficient हो सकते हैं, अगर हम हमारे mindset को change करें. How we look at this opportunity, because as I repeat, every cloud has a silver lining. The opportunity that you and I have to optimize our time. तो क्या होता है ना, बहुत लोग टाइम को वैल्यू नहीं करते, और अनफॉर्चुनेटली, नो ऑफेंस, डॉक्टर्स हैव नेवर वैल्यूड टाइम एट ऑल. पेशेंट्स को कितने बजे भी बुलाते हैं, कभी भी देखते हैं. आप सेल्स रिप्रेजेंटेटिव को बहुत 3, 4, 5, 6 घंटा आउटसाइड द ऑफिस ठहराते हैं. वो सब बदल गया है, और अच्छा हुआ है बदला है, क्योंकि ऑप्टिमाइजेशन एंड इफेक्टिवनेस विल लीड टू मोर प्रोडक्टिविटी. जब हमारे पास सोच का टाइम होता है ना, हमारा माइंड क्रिएटिव हो जाता है. सो वी बिगिन टू क्रिएट एंड इनोवेट एंड थिंक out of the box, think different strategies when we capitalize on the time that now is going to be available to us. So I repeat, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So the virus will no longer be such a big enemy. It has point one, we can make good things out of very bad things. Now, remember the sales representative on the bed who used the computer, his PPT, his emailers, his ability to Zoom call to completely change the way he had worked until now with his doctors. Unfortunate, his accident had to teach him that. But for us, the virus is teaching us that. 2, understand that every cloud has a silver lining. There are good advantages that you and I can make of this adversity. The adversity is the virus. It is. But every adversity carries with it a seed of opportunity. Every adversity carries with it a seed of opportunity. The opportunity that is available to us today is in time. We don't have to wait anymore. There is structure, there is discipline, there is method, there is a system. Appointments will be given in a particular way, appointments will be kept in a particular way. Doctors will be more disciplined, patients will be more disciplined. Because of their discipline, you and I, as sales representatives, will benefit. We will benefit by so much more availability that is otherwise been a scarce resource. Nobody has seen time as a resource. Everybody sees time as, kya hai? Time will come and time will go. Today, you will understand that because you have so much of availability of time, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to learn other things. Your work will require maybe 2-3 hours on an online call or on a Zoom. The rest of the time, you are free to create more, to read more, to understand your product more, to talk to management, to create different products. All experimentation, all creation comes with people who have time. And if you know Apple, the Apple computer, our Apple phone was made and constructed by now who's no more, Mr. Steve Jobs. You know what he said? He says, I never give my children any gadgets. I don't give them iPad, I don't give them iPhone, I don't give them the computer, laptop to sit on all the time. He says, why? Because my creation of creating the iPhone came at a time when I was doing nothing and just allowing my mind to think. Today, you and me have that opportunity. Throw away your gadgets after your work is over. Keep away your phones. Keep away unnecessary things. Unnecessary things keep away, because this time is a precious commodity for you, which will allow you to think, to create, and to innovate. As the man kept thinking, the sales representative, he realized that all his ideas of sending PPT, sending emailers, trying to contact doctors through the phone was unfortunately taking a long time. But he decided to wait. And as he kept waiting on his bed, waiting for doctors to reply, sometimes some would not reply for days, some would forget only to reply. He read another very interesting story. He read a story about a bank manager who decided that if I continue working in this bank, I am not going to be a very rich man. I want to do something different. So he continued reading the story with some interest and said, what is this bank manager trying to say? So the bank manager said, I decided to take a risk. I said, enough, नौकरी वोकरी वो मैं मुझे नहीं करना है क्योंकि मैं इस नौकरी पे मरना नहीं चाहता हूँ. So I am going to take a risk, is as he read the story of the bank manager. What kind of a risk? The bank manager had read that there was gold to be found in the mines of Rajasthan and Jodhpur and wherever. And the bank manager decided that he was going to take a risk. So what he did? He bought a ticket to Rajasthan. He gave up his bank job. He collected money from his relatives and his friends, telling them about his idea. They all supported him and said, of course, if you don't take a risk, how you and I will grow in life? So come on, we are supporting you. We are giving you little money. Let us help you to buy a gold mining machine. The bank manager bought the machine, took the next train and went up to Rajasthan to try and dig for the gold so that he can become a rich man. Down went the drill and up went the hopes. And this man, after a few days of digging, found that he had discovered some gold. Of course, the gold had to be retrieved and shipped. But he realized that if he continued to keep shipping cars of ore or cars of gold, as it is called, he would become a billionaire. So the first car of ore was shipped, the first car of gold was shipped, and by he was becoming very satisfied. But 3-4 months had passed, and as he kept digging, suddenly he found that the gold had vanished. There was no gold to be found. So after a couple of cars were shipped, the gold just vanished. He continued to dig to no effect. He began to feel defeated. He began to feel hopeless. He sold the machine, the gold digging machine, to some junk man who was watching what he was doing and gave up and went back to his bank job, a defeated man. The sales representative who was reading the story was very intrigued. What was further? So the bank manager had given up his job, borrowed money, collected money from his relatives and friends, and now he was going to take a risk. So he decided to take a risk. 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 He decided to take a risk.
Vinesh,
सर प्रशांत को बात ही कर रहा हूँ, कुछ टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम हुआ है इसका.
मैडम को इन्फॉर्म कर दें.
सपोर्ट में कोई है अभी? सपोर्ट श्याम, मिस्टर श्याम. हेलो मिस्टर श्याम, प्रशांत भाई.
There is some technical issue with ma'am's internet connection. Can you call her and check?
I already called her.
If
Let
she's
me
बोलो
disconnected.
ये करके डिस्कनेक्ट करके फिर से कनेक्ट करें.
बोला उनको.
Yeah, is it fine?
Yeah, ma'am, fine.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. So sorry. So sorry. I think my internet connection suddenly went. I apologize. So yes. So I was telling you the story. Mr. Solanki, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. So I was telling you the story about the sales representative who, when he read that, what did the man who had left his job as a bank manager do when he sold his machine to the junk man who was sitting by and watching what he was doing and left? He realized that the junk man who had bought the machinery from this bank manager continued to dig, and after a few days he had struck gold. That means what had happened? The bank manager had stopped digging just 3 feet from gold. And this is exactly what happens to us when we give up, when we don't persist, when we don't do things and stick by our methods and our plans, and we are in a hurry sometimes to succeed and to achieve, you will find that many of us unfortunately give up when success is just around the corner. The sales representative closed that book and said, my God, this man, the bank manager, would have been such a successful fellow had he not stopped and had he not given up. The sales representative was beginning to give up his idea about trying to contact the doctors through email or call because he found that his patience was wearing thin, that the doctors were not replying to him as quickly as he had hoped that they would, that they were taking their own sweet time. But this story inspired him. This story inspired him that success is a trickster. When we are just about to succeed, we are tricked into believing that we are going to fail. And that is the time when most of us give up. We give up, and we, like the man who sold his gold digging machine to the junk man, we give up and we quit and we give up and we leave. And that is the time when failure is trying to trip us, because it is trying to test us to see whether we have the ability to withstand and to persist. And when that sales representative read this story, how the man had stopped digging just 3 feet from gold, he did not want to be like the bank manager and give up. He wanted to persist, to stick, and to continue to use the methods that he had innovated and created to reach out to the doctors. So, a very famous American president gave this message to his countrymen, and I want to give it to you today. what did this president tell his countrymen? He says, nothing will take the place of persistence. Nothing will take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing will take the place of persistence. Talent will not. There are many unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education alone will not. Education alone will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Derelicts are people thrown away by society. The world is full of people thrown away by society. In fact, in our country, there's a message. The very fact that you are a teacher means you are a failure, unfortunately. Okay? So, nothing will take the place of persistence. Talent will not. There is nothing more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education alone will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone, persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. I repeat, persistence and determination. You and I today need the persistence and the determination to continue with our innovations, with our strategies, with our methods, to continue to go back to work, if not in physical presence, in a virtual presence like Zoom today, on webinars, on emailers, on chats, on phone calls, on any medium which will allow our creativity to come to the fore. So when the sales representative closed his book and said, I am going to follow what Woodrow Wilson, the US president, told his countrymen, I am going to keep reminding myself every single day. Persistence, persistence, persistence. Persistence and determination are omnipotent. All people who usually succeed in life, especially when there are challenging times in life, are people who persist, who continue to keep on keeping on. And with that, I want to show you yet another slide. To change your life, you have to change yourself. To change yourself, you have to change your mindset. Sorry, but most human beings like things to be easy. When that bank manager quit his job and went, he was a risk taker. He wanted to take a risk because he wanted to get rich. But he forgot, to get rich, you have to persist. You have to struggle. You have to go through the challenges that digging for gold would have brought him. According to me, he quit too early. According to me, many of us in the next month or two, if life continues the way it is, and I think it will, the people who are going to succeed are the people who are going to develop what I call stickability, the ability to persist, the ability to stick through, the ability to go through by changing our habit of laziness. So nothing will take the place of persistence. Your talents are not going to get you far if you do not persist. Your education is not going to get you far if you do not persevere and stick. Your genius, whatever your ideas, strategies, etc., are not going to get you far if you want to quit and throw in the towel. So you have to change your mindset and be ready to, hear the word, be ready to struggle. So to change your life, you have to change yourself. To change yourself, you have to change your mindset. The mindset that you and me now have to align ourselves to is that life is going to be a struggle. When that representative was laid up in bed for 3 to 6 months, he knew that his life was not going to be easy. He knew that he would have difficulties. He would have to think how to maintain his body, how to eat sensibly, how to keep himself emotionally and mentally well. He decided he can make good things happen out of every bad thing. He looked for the silver lining that this cloud had brought him. And he realized that he needed the tenacity and the determination of a rubber ball able to bounce and able to persist through this very difficult and this very challenging time. You and I also need that. But we will only be able to get that if we see the next slide. If you can't change circumstances, you and me cannot change our virus. You and me cannot change the lockdowns. You and me cannot change the physical and social distancing that is being compelled and made a rule by the government for us. What can we change? We can change our perspective. I've seen many people trying to defy the aspects. My question is, you are going to be banging your head against a wall if you don't change your perspective. Today, sorry, you and I have to wear a mask. You and I have to wear our gloves. You and I have to sanitize. You and I have to wash our hands. And you and I have to keep 2 to 6 feet distance from each other, whether we like it or not. The minute we change our perspective and do not see this as something that is, to be fought against, we will cooperate, we will collaborate, and we will self-protect. When this sales representative was laid up in bed for 3 to 6 months, he realized that he had to collaborate and cooperate with the doctor's instructions if he wanted to get back on his legs fit and fine. He followed every instruction. Today, you and me need to follow every instruction to keep ourselves safe and well. We cannot see that by defying these instructions, we are being very bold and very courageous and very, kind of macho. We have to accept that we cannot change circumstances. And since we cannot change circumstances, we have to change the perspective. The perspective being that you and I will be able to make the best of what is available to us. So we will do what is required. We will wear our masks. We will wash our hands. We will wear our gloves. And we will keep a social distance. Another aspect that I think a lot of us have forgotten is that, first of all, the virus does not come to all of us. If there are 100 people in the room and 1 or 2 have it, all 100 will not get it. Scientifically, it has been proved. Who are the people who don't get the virus? People who keep themselves healthy and well, whose immune system is sturdy and strong. They maximum get one little bit of sore throat and one cough, which goes away in 1 or 2 days, because their immune system fights the virus. The objective of this lockdown has also given us an opportunity to relook at the way you and I have been living our lives until now. Can we start concentrating more on our health so that, I believe, health is wealth. I don't want to spend unnecessary money on doctors, hospitals, unnecessarily if I'm not sleeping well, I'm not eating well, and I'm not keeping myself well enough with the vitamins or with whatever that is required of me. So change your perspective. Do not try and fight a circumstance. Collaborate, cooperate, and go along with the circumstance. Which brings me to point 4 about what did this sales representative finally begin to do to be able to succeed. He did what I want all of us to do. He developed what I call EQ. If you see, all successful people are not people who have high IQ only. Of course, they have a brain of strategic thinking, ability to, create, innovate. They have basic intelligence, of course. But more important, they have an ability to manage their emotions. And he realized, the sales representative realized, that if he constantly felt depressed, constantly felt anxious, constantly felt angry about life, about his condition, blamed his luck, blamed his fate, blamed the person who unfortunately dashed into him when he met with an accident, he would compromise his EQ. He understood that there was no point fighting a reality. So, all people with high EQ, emotional quotient, or emotional intelligence, as we call it, are people who do things which are within their control. He accepted reality. Acceptance, I repeat, does not mean resignation. He did not resign and say, "Oh, poor me, my fate, now I will die on this bed." Instead, he accepted reality. He asked himself, what were the things which were within his control? The things which were within his control was his ability to create, to innovate, to think. So, all people with EQ are problem solvers. They're not problem compounders. If you can manage your emotions at this challenging time, it is a very challenging time. I am not taking that away. It is a difficult time. It is a challenging time. But if you can manage your emotions, you will start becoming a problem solver. You will be like that sales representative who was able to make good things happen, who was able to see the silver lining in the cloud, who was able to persist with his new strategies, new methodologies of reaching the doctors, because he did not want to be like the bank manager who sold the gold machines and went away a defeated man. If you and me can manage our emotions of anxiety, depression, maybe anger, rebellion, you and I will become emotionally intelligent to be able to cope with this very, very challenging time. And the challenges come from managing oneself, because nothing and nobody can manage us. Only we can manage ourselves. So, are you going to be like the person who is constantly complaining, whining, moaning about what has happened? Or are you going to be a person who's going to now change your focus? Are you going to be a person who's going to constantly be stressed, constantly be pulled down, constantly look as if this is the end of life? Or are you going to smile and take this upon yourself as a challenge to be met? So, 4 points for today. We can make good things happen out of very bad things. Every cloud has a silver lining. Nothing will take the place of persistence. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. And managing of emotions will optimize, make you more efficient, give you an effective way to cope, because it is better to accept and cope rather than to condemn and mope. So I will leave you with a very interesting poem. And after that, of course, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have. The poem is, if you think you're beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win but think you can't, it is almost certain you won't. If you think you've lost, you've lost. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise before you can ever win a prize. Because life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. So let's take this as an opportunity to make our lives as good as possible for ourselves, to come around and to give ourselves a chance to create, to innovate. Because at the end of the day, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of y'all will have.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for such a wonderful, thought-provoking talk. Now we are open for question and answer. Mines, Mines.
So my internet connection is unstable. Just I'm looking into it. Any questions if there?
Or else, I think anybody want to ask a question, they can WhatsApp me.
Prashant bhai, I won't be able to access the chat box. Can you help me out?
Okay, that's not a problem. Anybody want to ask a question, they can WhatsApp me.
You can WhatsApp to sir or me.
So if we do not have any question, can we wrap up the session? Okay, ma'am. I think there's no question. The whole thing is crystal clear and people have understood everything. And for me, it was a very really inspiring talk. In case I get any question, I'll send you personally and I'll request you to respond them.
Please, I'll be very happy to answer. Thank you. Thank you very much again for a wonderful opportunity. Stay safe, stay well, stay positive, all of us, all of you, okay? Because it's only going to be a challenge now for us to go back into life and go back and reclaim. We don't want to be anxious, we want to be bold, and we don't want to be fearful, we want to be courageous. And I think that has to be the message for today, because it is only the bold and the courageous that will go back and reclaim life. So
okay,
thank you so much.
I've got one question. How to elevate fear or practice elevating fear and remove negativity?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that you and me need to do is set ourselves targets and set ourselves goals. Because what happens is many times fear comes to an empty mind. When we have nothing to accomplish, nothing to do, nothing to achieve, no plan as such for the day, there is usually an empty mind is a devil's workshop, right? So I would say set targets, set professional targets, how many clients you want to talk to, how many emailers you want to make, how many meetings you want to have. Set a schedule for the day and try and stick to a pattern and a structure for a day. And there is a science behind this, because mind cannot think two thoughts at the same time. So if I am like today, when I had this invitation, I was studying, getting ready to make it as relatable as possible to y'all who are out there in the task force. So to create the example of the sales representative who met with an accident, I sat down, I wrote my notes, I made my whole kind of presentation ready. I didn't have a bandwidth. Mindset was not anxious at all. Maybe after the session, I'll be anxious. Abhi main kya karu? So keep a structure to your day. It is very important, because once there's a structure and a direction to the mind, you will find that the mind is less anxious.
Ma'am, one more question from our GM sales, Mr. Mrityunjay Kumar. Is a question for the entire team.
Yeah.
He said sometimes we used to bring our business to the next level, but the organization policies and all sometimes hinders us emotionally. That our main ambition is to move to the next level, but there's some hindrances are there in between, which is the policy actually. So how to manage ourselves in these situations, ma'am?
So always remember, Mr. Kumar, whether for you or for me, there are so many policies which are not made by us, which are unfortunately going to come in our way. A successful person is asks only two questions to themselves. How much is within my control and how much is without? Now, if I keep blaming management or organization for policies, or I keep blaming the government, say, for example, for this lockdown, I am not going to succeed at all. So all successful people ask one question: what can I do with where I am and with what I have? So I have a limited bandwidth and a limited ability. I cannot go against management. I cannot change policy. That is not within my control. How best I can stick to doing whatever I know with whatever resources and whatever capacities that are within my control. And if I continue to do that, I will find myself being more and more successful. And then the management will notice me and be forced to change policy so that I can climb to the next level. Because always remember, assets are human beings. The human being is the biggest asset to any organization. And the organization will recognize the asset when the asset continues to do what he or she has been asked to do and does it really well. So if you concentrate on things within your control and do not concentrate on extraneous things, which are policies, etc., which are completely beyond your control, you will find yourself much more at peace. And peaceful mind can be a beautifully working mind.
There is another question. We strongly believe that the personal relationship and the personal interaction with customers gives us a better advantage than connecting to the customers through digital media. So how do we resolve this?
So whether we like it or not, yes, you are absolutely right. There is nothing like a human in the flesh interaction. Absolutely correct. But now, because of limiting and constraining circumstances, we will have to re-innovate the way we are able to form a rapport with the person in spite of and despite inability to be in the flesh. Of course, there is no substitute for human touch. There is no substitute for a human engagement. There isn't. But different times call for different measures. And till we go back to that, right now, optimizing virtual reality to be able to manage is something that we will unfortunately have to be compelled to accept and do. Because again, otherwise we are fighting reality. But I completely agree. Nothing is more important than being in the flesh with someone. But because limiting constraints are there, can we do then the second best thing? And that is use virtual methods and methodologies to make and build rapport.
The other question is, as we are scared of the situation, same as doctors. Doctors are scared of meeting many people in their clinic,
Yeah.
and they would like to maintain a distance between their patients, and they would like to avoid meeting those pharma company people. So how do we convince them to meet us? How emotionally we can connect to them through digital media so that we create an opportunity to meet personally?
So basically, I think first thing we have to understand is the virus is not as dangerous as it is being made out to be. And if we follow protocols, like how in a operation theater, there are certain protocols of sanitization, hygiene, wearing gloves, wearing masks, wearing caps, etc. Okay, PPE equipments now, which is kind of becoming pretty much mandatory for many hospitals. Okay, I think if you are able to follow protocols, over time, people will begin to see that nothing significant is happening to them. And as I said, till the doctors begin to initiate contact back, where they invite us back into their offices, into their nursing homes, into their hospitals, the best way will be to continue the engagement by setting up appointments, keeping appointments in a virtual model or in a virtual place. But as I repeat, I'm very confident that if I continue to manage myself and my hygiene and don't touch my face, nose, eyes, and wash my hands enough and wear my mask, I don't think I will contract the virus. So I think more of it is paranoia and over exaggeration. Okay. And slowly, as life settles, you will see by the next year, by the end of this year, people would have more or less adapted and the body would have adapted to the virus.
Ma'am,
there is another question. Sorry, Minas, you can go
yes,
ahead.
sir. So there is
So
one
there is
more.
another question. My family is scared when I go out of house. So how do I start my work?
Yes, a lot. So I'm a consultant for Lilavati Hospital. My father is a consultant for Lilavati Hospital. My father is 78 years old. My mother, my aunt, because we live in a joint family, all of them are scared when he goes to the hospital. So as I said, as long as a person is taking precautions and seeing that they are doing all the protocols, even when they come back home, okay, throwing their clothes for a wash, going immediately to the bathroom and having a bath, washing my hands, I think I should be safe. So empowering and educating the family members is a very important thing here. Me and my father have been drilling into our family's head that y'all are unnecessary panicking. And 45 days have passed so far, and we have been working. He's been seeing patients. Nothing has happened so far, touch wood, because we are following the protocols that are being asked of us who work in environments where the viral load is a lot. So thankfully, when we go back into the world, the viral load is minimal. And even when we go back to hospitals and nursing homes, which is what is mainly our jobs, okay, as long as we take the necessary precautions and keep ourselves healthy, I think the most important thing is our health. Let my immune system fight the virus. Let my immune system be strong enough. And if I were to give one message which has nothing to do with psychology, but which has everything to do with medical health, is that let us concentrate from now on managing our health, because health is really wealth. If you keep your strong, fit and fine, I don't see why the virus will come and attack you. And thank God it's not airborne, and it is only borne through droplets. And if you wear your mask, you're safe.
Yeah. Ma'am, one more question from one of our sales head. It's an intelligent question.
Sure.
Can you please suggest the tips and tricks when how to encounter your failure when you are not responsible for it?
So the first thing that you have to ask yourself whenever you or me fail is that, what was this because of? So what happens? There are many variables to success and many variables to failure. Okay. Today, just because I'm not getting a contract from a doctor to supply IV medicines, or rather IVF medicines, it is not because I am a bad salesman. It is because right now they have enough stock, they have enough things lying with them. Patients are not coming yet because they are not confident enough to go back to IVF treatment, etc. So my failure of not meeting my target has nothing to do with my poor salesmanship, but environment and constraints which are circumstantial and beyond my control. So what has happened in the past, we were very, what is the right word, arrogant. And we were overconfident that all these sales that happened was only because of our great salesmanship. Wrong. It was because the environment was conducive. Many more people were having infertility problems. Many more people were going to IVF procedures, etc., etc. So at that time also, your meeting sales targets was partly because of you, partly, but also largely because of other variables. Today also, your failure is maybe partly because of you, because maybe you're not making the leads, you're not generating emails, you're not generating virtual sessions, etc. But it's largely because of the human conditions around you, where people today have lost money. They don't have the money for IVFs. They don't have the confidence to go into an IVF clinic. Doctors are not yet being given permission to do IVF procedures. So there are so many variables. So if you begin to personalize this, you will feel very defeated. But if you see extraneous variables and keep objective reality as to the reasons why you and I have not been able to meet our targets, I think we will feel much, much better.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions?
I think nobody has written me anything, any question.
Okay. Thank you very much again, ma'am, for this question answer session. And we would look forward to do many more such programs for the other teams, because there were few people from the other business have also joined, and I started getting WhatsApp from them also that they would like to conduct this type of program for their team. So as soon as they give us any confirmation, Minesh will be in touch with you.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, ma'am.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Be well, be safe. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Goodbye, ma'am.
Bye. Bye.